How's it going? My name's Corey. I'm going to go over how I set up a valve train on this big block Chevy here. This is a little bit older style. I'm using standard stud mount rockers with a one-piece stud girdle. There's going to be some things that I didn't think to add into this because I didn't record it, and I probably should have, like checking for push rod length to get the correct geometry to make sure you're landing on the tips of your valves. Looking at my camera here, I don't know that it really shows it very well, but I've actually already had this motor running. I had a rocker arm failure, so I bought all new stainless rockers from Crower and all new push rods, and we're just going through and resetting it up here. It's actually why I have the motor out of the car, because I wanted to make sure there wasn't any pieces of metal in it anywhere from when that other rocker arm broke and chewed the push rod up too. So you're going to want to go through and lube the ends of all your push rods. On a big block Chevy, you have longs and shorts, and if you put them in the wrong spot, like you can see how that is shorter than the stud there. If you put it in the wrong one, you can see it's too tall and you'll actually never get the rocker arm on it, and vice versa. If you look at the length difference there, if you put the shorts in the long spots, they won't even stick out. I kind of already went through and got everything all cleaned up, made sure there was no metal or nothing in it, and any of the new stuff, got them all cleaned out, blowed through with compressed air the way I like to do it. Just kind of got them sitting in a cart here off to the side so they're quick for me to grab. Once you get all them in, you're going to want to go through and start putting your rockers on. If you notice here, there's a flat side down in here. That's what your poly lock's going to go against. On the other side, it's rounded. You can't put that up. Your poly lock won't sit to it right. So you should be able to go through at this point and set them on there. I don't know if the camera shows it well, but the stud's sticking up a little bit. If the stud is not sticking up, you have push rods in the wrong spot, at least on a big block Chevy. I guess I went through and I lubed up a lot of this, and I forgot to do the tips of the push rods on the rockers, so we'll do those as we're setting them on. A lot of people use different types of assembly lube for this too. This is Permatex Ultra Slick. I've used Lubriplate and Torco. I've used many different versions of it. I don't know that it makes too much of a difference myself what you use, as long as there's something on there. I'm going to prime this motor before it fires anyway, so I'll know that it's all got oil prior to it ever starting. I also don't like lubing the tip of the rocker where it goes to the valve right now, because I find it kind of makes it tricky to tell when you're sliding your feeler gauge in and out under your tip here when you're going to run your lash. It can kind of make it feel different. It makes it hard to make it consistent, so I don't really like doing that. What I'll do is I'll get it all set, valve lash set on all of them, everything locked in, then I'll go through and I'll set a little bit on the rollers and let it roll down into them at the end. Next thing I got to do here is, with this particular style of one-piece stud girdle I have, I'm going to go through and just hand tighten these. These are extra tall poly locks for a stud girdle on all these intakes. This being a one-piece girdle can be a little bit of a bear to get together. So once you get all them on, this is a Comp Cam's 4021's part number on this. If anybody cares, wants it, they don't matter to me. This is not a bad girdle, but a little bit tricky to get it all set up. One piece like this on multiple different angles on your valves, I mean, it makes everything want to fight each other just a little bit. It's not horrible, but something that if you're not used to, it can be a bit of a chore. Apologize for shaking my camera around here so much. This motor's kind of got a wiggle for me to get that to do what I need it to. Yeah, and these you'll set the intakes in place. Oh, lost my wrench there for a second, couldn't find it. On these you'll go through and you'll set all your intakes in. You slide your one-piece girdle on here, go through and hand tighten these ones to your exhaust. Now this is something that there's a lot of different ways to do this, and I'm sure everybody's got their own opinion. I'm not telling you the way I'm doing this is right. Not saying the way anybody else does it is wrong. This is just the way I found that I like to do it. It works the best for me. So I'm going to go through here and tighten all of these, a lot of these, because the girdle wants to rub them. I've got to use the wrench just to get them to snug up for me. But I'll go through and I'll just get them a little bit snug, not tight, just enough it kind of takes the lash out of them. And then occasionally you'll run into some that don't quite tighten down all the way. Like that one stopped right there. This one, it's getting pretty snug and it's not wanting to do anything. Take that lash out. That's fine. All we're gonna do is just bar the motor over a little bit. And what we want to do is open and close some of these valves to kind of get it down to 0 lash. Almost dropped my wrench there. As we do that, these studs have so much deflection in them. You might not be able to see it with your eye, but if you put a gauge on it, they're actually trying to do this on these aluminum heads. That's the whole point of the girdle. And it will make it so, like, I'm sure it's got this one on a little bit of an angle. It's probably on lift, and that's why it's doing it. Ratchet here in the end of the crank. It also doesn't help that I already have the other side done. So I'm going to go through and turn the motor about 90 degrees. I'm just going to come back through and see if any of these snug up some more. See, like that one there's gotten loose. That one don't feel too bad. That one don't feel too bad. That one's loosened up. I'm just going to do this a couple times as I drop my wrench. I'm just going to do this a couple times until I get them all snugged up. Then I'll go back through and I will actually set the valve lash on all of them. I have found in doing this that this is a much easier way to try to get them all set instead of just trying to start on one side and immediately go to the other or follow the firing order, because this girdle can actually pull on them a little bit. So if you just were to get it to the point I had it at a second ago and set your valve lash on all of them, if you roll back over it and check them, they're not all the same, because it's actually torqued the studs a little bit before you tightened this down. So that's why I kind of like to do it this way. I found it to work a little better, and then after I am done with my first round of going through it, I usually don't have to adjust them again. They seem to be pretty much where they need to be. This one I don't understand what's going on here. Oh, I bet I know what's going on here. Being that these were used and on this motor once before, not really used, I bought them new, but they've been on here once before. the lock inside the poly lock was still tight. I'm a doofus. Forgot all about that. That's one thing I did do off camera, is go through and clean everything, inspect it, make sure I couldn't find nothing in it. Did it all off camera there, just because it's one of those things that it's important, but it's just very time consuming and tedious. See, now I believe I've got these pretty close to all being basically at 0 lash. Then I'm going to come through here. This particular camshaft that I have calls for them intakes and exhaust to be set at 20 thousandths. So that's what I'm going to set them all at. I'm going to show how I do it on one, and then I'll speed the video up because it's just the same process for all of them. I like to start on one side and work my way to the other. Some people follow the firing order. Some people jump side to side and just there's, like I said, there's 100 different ways to do it. I like doing it this way and just going one at a time. And what I will also personally do is, while I'm at it, if I have to stop for a phone call, someone walks in, whatever, I'm going to leave that right where I'm at. And I know I always work from the back to the front. I know, you know, say I'm here, that'd be the last one that I did. I don't have to go back through them all, and because I can't remember where I started and whatnot. Like I said, my personal preference. People can do whatever they want. This is just how I'm going to do it. That's why I've always done it. It's always worked for me. Now that you've kind of got all them snugged up, next thing you want to do is go through and roll the motor over, and you want to get that lobe on what's called the base circle of the cam, which basically just means it's not trying to open that valve. And if you can be directly on the back, that's typically the most ideal. What I like to do is roll it until I see it get lifted up and it fully stops. Then I'll rotate the motor about another 90 degrees and I know it should be fine. I always go through and check them when I'm all done here at the end anyway. So you just go through here. You know, when you do this, you just want your feeler gauge to have a little bit of drag. You don't want it getting stuck, and you don't want it sliding in and out super easy. On this style, you will tighten your poly lock. What I like to do is turn the wrench back about a 1/16, then turn them both together, your Allen wrench and your regular wrench, and that'll get you pretty close. And if you need to, you can just snug it a little more, and there's your drag. So from here, I'm going to speed it up. That's the basic process of it. I'm just going to kind of time lapse the rest of these, I guess. Well, had some problems with the camera there as I was going through doing that, but now that I got them all done, you should be able to go through and you should have a little bit of drag. I mean, you don't want to have to force it in and out or nothing, but it should have just a little bit of drag as it rolls through under there, especially if you got roller tips. It's going to slide through a little easier. Like I said earlier, I found that sometimes you'll get them like this one. It slides a little bit lighter than I would like it to. I don't know exactly where that one's at on cam lobe though. It's on the base circle. I believe it's because without this bar tight, it's allowing these stud girdles to kind of do this and twist inside of this or I'm sorry, it's allowing the poly locks to move inside of the stud girdles. So that's why I kind of like to go back through, and I usually find one or two that could use just a little bit more to snug it up. See, like that's not bad. But I found that I can roll this motor around 10 more times. It doesn't matter. And you're always going to have some that adjust a little bit. Until you just snug this bar up, it's gonna change. I mean, there's just so much tension on something with a cam this size. One thing you have to watch when you set a stud girdle like this up too is you don't want it too high. That's going to get into your valve covers. This one is very tall, and I have to use very tall valve covers for it. And you have to remember you are working with poly locks that are on these rocker arm studs that are all on different angles. So this bar can only go up and down so much, or it's not going to pinch them right, or it's actually going to begin to pull them out. What I found here on mine is if I can get this top edge pretty in line there, that seems to be where it likes to tighten down and not affect too much. So I'm just going to snug these up with my wrench here. I'll grab a torque wrench in a minute, and I'm actually going to torque them down, which I'll probably do off camera because I'm assuming if you're watching this video you probably know how to use a torque wrench, and I don't really have to explain that. But that's basically how I do it, how I set it up. Like I said, I'm not saying it's the right way, not saying it's the only way. It's just the way I've kind of learned to do it. Hope this video can help somebody. Thanks for watching.